Veena was a seemingly sweet girl, but her challenges were tough. Her skin was dark, her height was shorter compared to other girls, and she had some mental weakness that made her lag behind her classmates. The girls often made fun of her short height and called her lazy and incompetent. Such hurtful attitudes had mentally paralyzed her, and everyone ignored her. One day, tired of everything, she locked herself in her room and cried. She was completely overwhelmed by despair, wondering what the purpose of her life was. She felt she was living a pointless life. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door, and someone came in abruptly. She kept crying. "My dear, why are you crying?" her grandfather asked, gently stroking her head with affection. "Don't you know all the problems your daughter is facing?" Veena replied. I know everything. Now stop crying and listen to a story." "I'm not a child that you can distract me with a story," she said. "Well, if you've grown up, why don't you tell me a story instead?" "The one about the tortoise and the hare," he said with a smile. "What are you talking about?" she asked, confused. "Do you remember the hare in the story? Fast and confident, knowing he would win, but he didn't. Despite his speed and agility, the hare lost. And who won? The tortoise, who was so slow that he had no right to compete with the hare in the first place. But he decided to take part in the race anyway. He didn't give up before trying, and then he didn't stop but kept crawling forward slowly." Veena stopped crying and began listening intently, feeling as if she were hearing the story for the first time, despite having heard it many times before. The tortoise never gave up. When he entered the competition, everyone made fun of him. Even when he kept moving slowly, people laughed, but he just smiled and kept going. Despite all the negativity, when he crossed the finish line, those who mocked him were left astonished. He fought his own battle because he knew he wasn't as fast as the hare, so he had to work harder than him with tireless effort. Do you know? If the tortoise had lost, he would have had the right to cry because he would have put in all his effort and still not succeeded. But he won. It's impossible to put in hard work and still lose. "You're crying? Why?" her grandfather asked, and then answered his own question. "Because you feel inferior to others? You lack confidence when you compete with them. You're crying over a victory that seems far away, but you're not even trying to reach it. You don't have the right to cry if you're not making any effort." Her grandfather fell silent after these words. His words led Veena to a new way of thinking. Indeed, she had been considering herself a failure even before trying. Had she become worse than a slow tortoise? You have some shortcomings. Not everyone is the same. It's no one's fault. But if you're honest with yourself, stop thinking about your weaknesses. Focus on the positive and work toward it. From that day forward, Veena began thinking about her future. After much reflection, she decided to learn driving and put all her effort and determination into it. When it was time to go to college, before her parents could say anything, Veena herself said, "Dad, please get me a van. I'll take a few of my friends to college with me, and I'll earn enough monthly to cover my college expenses." Meanwhile, the girls who used to make fun of her continued to depend on their parents, while Veena not only pursued her education but also shaped her own future.